Have you ever noticed that some people seem to age differently than others? Not just in how they look, but in how they feel, their energy, their mental clarity, their physical comfort as the years pass. You may have assumed this is simply genetics, or luck, or the inevitable result of getting older. But what if a significant part of the story has been hiding in plain sight? What if the difference between gradual decline and sustained vitality comes down to something so basic, so fundamental, that modern medicine has largely overlooked it, something that cannot always be measured in a standard blood test, yet affects nearly every system in your body, from your heart to your digestion to your ability to think clearly. In the next hour, we're going to explore a perspective on aging that changes everything you thought you knew about what your body really needs. You are listening to the Longevity Library, where we archive the wisdom of healthy aging. The long view. Understanding the body's foundational needs for healthy aging. There is a question that becomes more meaningful with each passing year. What does it actually mean to age well? For some, it means the absence of major disease. For others, it means maintaining the energy to travel, to play with grandchildren, or to simply wake up feeling capable and clear-headed. But beneath these individual goals lies a deeper reality that modern medicine is only beginning to fully appreciate. The difference between merely growing older and growing older with vitality often comes down to the body's most basic, foundational requirements that can be overlooked in an era of complex pharmaceuticals and specialized medical testing. This is not a story about a secret pill or a revolutionary treatment. It is a story about understanding the body as a connected whole, and about recognizing that sometimes the most profound changes come not from adding something new, but from restoring something essential that has been quietly depleted over decades. The body as a connected system. The human body has often been compared to a machine, but this comparison falls short in important ways. A machine is assembled from separate parts, each with a distinct function that can be repaired or replaced independently. The body, by contrast, is a web of interdependencies. Every system influences every other system. The health of the heart affects the clarity of the mind. The function of the digestive system determines the nutrition available to every cell. The nervous system touches everything. This interconnectedness means that when something goes wrong, it rarely stays contained. A single underlying weakness can manifest in what appears to be dozens of unrelated problems. This is why some individuals find themselves visiting multiple specialists, a cardiologist for palpitations, a neurologist for tingling in the feet, a gastroenterologist for indigestion, a sleep clinic for apnea, without anyone connecting these seemingly separate concerns. The concept of nutrient dependency helps explain why this happens. Every cell in the body requires certain basic elements to function. When one of those elements is in short supply, every system that depends on it begins to operate below its optimal level. The symptoms may look different in different parts of the body, but the root cause can be surprisingly singular. This understanding shifts the focus from managing individual symptoms to supporting the entire system. It suggests that before pursuing complex interventions, it may be worth asking a simpler question. Are the body's most fundamental needs being met? The energy crisis within. At the core of every cell are structures called mitochondria. They are often described as the cell's power plants. And this is an apt description. Their job is to convert the food a person eats into the energy that fuels every thought, every heartbeat, every breath. This process is not optional. Without it, life ceases. Mitochondria are extraordinarily busy. A single cell can contain hundreds or even thousands of them, depending on its energy demands. Heart cells, for example, are dense with mitochondria because the heart never stops working. Nerve cells also require tremendous energy to maintain the electrical signaling that allows a person to move, feel, and think. To generate this energy, mitochondria depend on a series of chemical reactions. Each reaction requires specific helpers, known in biology as cofactors. These are often vitamins and minerals that the body cannot produce on its own and must obtain from food. Among the most critical of these cofactors for energy production is a compound called thiamine, more commonly known as vitamin B1. Without adequate B1, the mitochondrial engines cannot run efficiently. They may sputter, stall, or produce energy at a fraction of their potential capacity. The result is a cellular energy crisis. And when billions of cells are simultaneously struggling for energy, the effects are felt throughout the entire body. This is not a theoretical concern. Researchers have observed that the modern diet, high in refined carbohydrates and low in nutrient density, places extraordinary demands on the body's B1 stores. Every time a person consumes sugar or white flour, their body must use B1 to process it. Over time, this constant demand can outpace supply, leaving the mitochondria underfueled even when caloric intake is more than sufficient. The irony is striking. In an age of abundance, where food is available at every corner and in every supermarket aisle, a significant portion of the population may be experiencing a form of cellular starvation. They are eating enough, sometimes too much, but their cells are not receiving the specific compounds required to turn that food into usable energy. The many faces of a single deficiency. When energy production falters, the body's systems respond in different ways. This is why a single underlying issue can masquerade as many different conditions. In medical literature, this phenomenon has been observed for over a century. The classic deficiency disease associated with B1 is called beriberi, a term derived from a Sinhalese phrase meaning, I cannot. I cannot. It captures the profound weakness and incapacity that characterize the condition. But beriberi in its classic form is only one manifestation. Medical historians note that before the connection between B1 and polished rice was understood, populations that switched from whole grain to white rice developed a bewildering array of symptoms. Some experienced heart failure and fluid retention. Others developed nerve pain and muscle wasting. Still others suffered from confusion, memory loss, and difficulty walking. At the time, these were often viewed as separate diseases. Only later was it recognized that they shared a common origin. This historical pattern repeats itself today, though the context has changed. Instead of polished rice, the modern diet features refined wheat, sugar, and processed foods that have been stripped of their nutrient content. The result is the same: a population consuming plenty of calories but lacking in specific factors needed to utilize them. Among the conditions that have been linked to inadequate B1 status are peripheral neuropathy, characterized by tingling, burning, or numbness in the hands and feet, cardiovascular issues including an enlarged heart and fluid retention, digestive problems such as slow stomach emptying and acid reflux, and neurological symptoms ranging from memory difficulties to mood disturbances. Each of these, on its own, might be treated as an isolated problem, but when viewed through the lens of cellular energy, they begin to look like different expressions of the same underlying vulnerability. The heart and the breath. The heart is the most metabolically active muscle in the body. It beats approximately 100,000 times per day, moving blood through a network of vessels that would stretch more than 60,000 miles if laid end to end. This work requires an immense and continuous supply of energy. When mitochondrial function is compromised by inadequate B1, the heart muscle cannot generate the force it needs to pump efficiently. It may respond by enlarging, a compensatory mechanism that allows it to move more blood with each contraction, but also places additional strain on the system. Fluid can begin to accumulate in the tissues, particularly in the lower legs and ankles. As the heart's pumping efficiency declines, This is not a sign of heart failure in the conventional sense, but of a heart that is working without sufficient fuel. The respiratory system is similarly affected. The brain stem contains clusters of neurons that control the rhythm of breathing. These neurons, like all nerve cells, have high energy demands. When their mitochondria are underfueled, the signals they send to the diaphragm and chest muscles may become irregular or weak. This can contribute to the sensation of not getting enough air, even during mild exertion. It may also play a role in sleep-disordered breathing, where the automatic drive to breathe diminishes during rest. For individuals who wake feeling unrefreshed despite a full night's sleep, or who find themselves short of breath walking up a flight of stairs that was once manageable, the issue may not be primarily with the lungs or the heart valves. It may be with the fundamental energy supply that powers both. The digestive connection. The digestive system is another high-energy operation. From the moment food enters the mouth, muscles must contract in coordinated waves to move it through the esophagus, stomach, and intestines. Glands must secrete acids and enzymes to break food down into absorbable components. The cells lining the digestive tract must rapidly regenerate, as they have a lifespan of only a few days. All of this requires energy. When energy is scarce, digestion slows. Food may remain in the stomach longer than intended, creating a sensation of fullness that persists for hours after eating. This condition, known as gastroparesis, is often attributed to nerve damage, particularly in the context of diabetes. But the nerve damage itself may be downstream of the same energy deficit that affects every other system. The production of stomach acid is also energy dependent. Hydrochloric acid is not simply present in the stomach. It must be actively secreted by specialized cells. This process requires robust mitochondrial function. When acid production falls, the valve at the top of the stomach, the lower esophageal sphincter, may not close properly. This valve normally remains tightly shut except when swallowing, preventing stomach contents from flowing backward into the esophagus. It requires an acidic environment in the stomach to maintain this seal. When acid is low, the valve relaxes, and the burning sensation of reflux can result. This connection is often missed in conventional treatment. Acid reflux is commonly managed with medications that further reduce stomach acid, providing temporary relief but potentially deepening the underlying problem. The digestive system becomes slower, nutrient absorption declines, and the cycle continues. The nervous system under stress. Nerve cells are among the most energy-demanding in the body. They maintain an electrical charge across their membranes, generate and transmit signals, and constantly repair themselves. The longest nerve cells, those that run from the spinal cord to the feet, must transport essential materials over distances that, in cellular terms, are enormous. When energy supply is compromised, the nerves that are farthest from the metabolic center are often the first to show signs of distress. This is why peripheral neuropathy typically begins in the feet and hands. The tingling, burning, or numbness that characterizes this condition is not a random event. It is the sensation of nerves that are struggling to maintain their function without adequate fuel. The autonomic nervous system, which controls functions that operate without conscious effort, is equally vulnerable. This system regulates blood pressure, heart rate, digestion, body temperature, and sweating. It ensures that when a person stands up, blood vessels in the legs constrict to maintain blood flow to the brain. It coordinates the complex processes of digestion. It adjusts sweat production to cool the body during exertion. All of these operations require continuous energy input. When that energy is not available, the system's performance becomes erratic. Blood pressure may drop upon standing, causing dizziness, Sweating may become excessive in some areas while absent in others. The body may struggle to regulate temperature. These symptoms, which can seem mysterious and disconnected, often trace back to the same energy deficit affecting the autonomic nerves. The cognitive effects are equally significant. The brain, though only 2% of body weight, consumes approximately 20% of the body's energy. When mitochondrial function is impaired, mental clarity suffers. This can manifest as brain fog, difficulty concentrating, or a sense that thinking requires more effort than it once did. Memory may become less reliable. The mind may feel less sharp, less quick, less capable of sustained focus. In more pronounced cases, mood is affected, anxiety, irritability, and a low threshold for stress have all been observed in connection with metabolic dysfunction. The nervous system, deprived of energy, operates in a state of constant alert. It cannot easily settle into the calm, parasympathetic state that allows for rest and recovery. Sleep may become elusive, and when it comes, it may be disturbed by vivid or unsettling dreams. Blood sugar and the metabolic spiral. The relationship between diet and cellular energy is not one way. What a person eats determines the fuel available to their mitochondria. But the mitochondria's ability to process that fuel also influences how the body responds to food. Carbohydrates, particularly refined ones, place a heavy demand on B1. Every molecule of glucose that enters the energy production pathway requires B1 dependent enzymes to be fully utilized. When B1 is in short supply, this process becomes less efficient. Glucose may be only partially metabolized, leading to the accumulation of byproducts that can damage tissues over time. This is why individuals with consistently high blood sugar are at particular risk for B1 depletion. The constant flood of glucose creates a constant demand for the vitamin. Over time, even an adequate intake may not be sufficient to keep up with the demand. The result is a functional deficiency, where the vitamin is present in the blood but cannot be utilized effectively because the enzymes that depend on it are overwhelmed or impaired. The consequences extend beyond energy production. Partially metabolized glucose can bind to proteins and fats in a process called glycation. This creates structures that are sticky and inflexible, interfering with normal cellular function. In blood vessels, glycation contributes to stiffness and damage. In nerves, it disrupts signaling. In the lenses of the eyes, it clouds vision. These are the very complications that characterize poorly managed blood sugar over time. There is an important observation from population studies. Among individuals with similar blood sugar levels, those with better nutrient status tend to experience fewer complications. This suggests that the damage associated with high blood sugar is not inevitable. It is mediated by the body's ability to protect itself, and that ability depends on having adequate resources at the cellular level. The many roads to depletion. Understanding how B1 becomes depleted requires looking at the full range of factors that influence its status in the body. Diet is only part of the picture, though it is a significant part. The modern food supply presents a paradox. It offers an unprecedented variety of options, yet many of the most commonly consumed foods provide calories without corresponding nutrients. Refined grains, which form the base of the standard diet in many developed countries, have been stripped of the vitamin-rich germ and bran. What remains is a concentrated source of starch that the body can metabolize quickly, but that offers little beyond energy. This would be less concerning if these foods were occasional additions to a nutrient-dense diet. But for many, they are the foundation. Breakfast cereals, white bread, pasta, crackers, pastries, and sugary beverages deliver a steady stream of carbohydrate that must be processed using nutrient reserves. Over time, this draws down those reserves without replenishing them. Alcohol has a similar effect. It is metabolized through pathways that consume B1, and it also interferes with absorption in the digestive tract. Regular consumption, even at moderate levels, can contribute to gradual depletion. Age itself is a factor. The digestive system becomes less efficient at extracting nutrients from food as the years pass. Stomach acid production often declines, which affects the absorption of many vitamins, including B1. The kidneys, which regulate the excretion of nutrients, may become less precise. The cumulative effect is that older adults require more nutrients, not fewer, to maintain the same cellular function. Medications add another layer of complexity. Diuretics, commonly prescribed for blood pressure, increase the excretion of water-soluble vitamins. Acid-blocking drugs, taken by millions for reflux, reduce the stomach acid needed to release B1 from food. Metformin, a first-line treatment for diabetes, has been shown to lower B1 levels in some individuals. Each of these medications serves an important purpose, but their nutritional consequences are rarely discussed. Certain surgical procedures can also affect B1 status. Gastric bypass and other bariatric operations alter the anatomy of the digestive tract, often bypassing the duodenum, which is the primary site of B1 absorption. Individuals who have undergone these procedures may require ongoing attention to their nutrient status to prevent gradual depletion. Even common dietary choices like coffee and tea, consumed in large quantities, can affect B1 levels. The tannins and other compounds in these beverages can bind to B1 in the digestive tract, reducing its absorption. This is not a reason to avoid them, but it is a factor worth considering for those who consume several cups daily. The question of testing. Given the wide range of symptoms associated with B1 insufficiency and the many factors that can lead to it, one might assume that testing would be routine. In practice, it is not. Standard blood tests measure the amount of B1 circulating in the bloodstream. This provides some information, but it does not tell the whole story. As researchers have documented, it is possible to have normal blood levels of B1 while still being functionally deficient at the cellular level. The issue is not always how much B1 is present, but whether the enzymes that use it are working properly. The enzyme most directly involved in B1 dependent metabolism is transketolase. Measuring its activity provides a more accurate picture of functional status. But this test is not commonly available. It requires specialized handling and is not included in standard laboratory panels. This creates a situation where a common and consequential condition can go undetected by conventional testing. Individuals may be told their levels are normal while continuing to experience symptoms that are, in fact, related to inadequate B1 function. There is an alternative approach that has been used in clinical practice for decades. It is simple, inexpensive, and surprisingly informative. It involves a therapeutic trial, a period of supplementation followed by observation of any changes in symptoms. If symptoms improve, it suggests that the body was indeed lacking in what was provided. This approach respects the complexity of individual biology and acknowledges that laboratory reference ranges, however useful, do not capture every person's optimal state. Sources and forms. The body does not care where its nutrients come from, only that they arrive in forms it can use. Food sources offer the advantage of complexity. In whole foods, B1 does not exist in isolation. It is part of a matrix of other compounds that may support its absorption and utilization. Nutritional yeast. A deactivated yeast sold as flakes or powder is one of the richest sources. It can be sprinkled on foods or stirred into soups and sauces, adding a savory flavor along with its nutrient content. Liver. An often overlooked food in modern diets, provides B1 along with a range of other vitamins and minerals in forms the body recognizes readily. Pork, seeds, legumes, and certain vegetables like squash and asparagus contribute meaningful amounts. For those whose needs are not met by diet alone, supplements offer a reliable alternative. The standard form, thiamine hydrochloride, is water-soluble and well-absorbed. It enters the bloodstream and travels to tissues throughout the body, supporting the energy needs of cells wherever it goes. A different form, benfotiamine, has attracted research attention for its unique properties. It is fat-soluble, which allows it to cross cell membranes more easily than the water-soluble form. This is particularly relevant for tissues that are rich in fat, such as nerves and the brain. Benfotiamine has been studied for its potential to support nerve health and cognitive function, areas where standard thiamine may have more limited access. Neither form is inherently superior. They serve different purposes and may be appropriate in different situations. The water-soluble form supports general cellular energy. The fat-soluble form may be more targeted for neurological concerns. Some individuals choose to use both, recognizing that they address different aspects of B1 function. The principle of balance. There is a principle in nutrition that applies to all vitamins and minerals. They work as a team. No single nutrient operates in isolation. Each depends on others for its absorption, activation, and function. The B vitamins illustrate this principle clearly. They are often referred to as a complex because they are found together in foods and because they participate in interconnected metabolic pathways. B1 supports energy production. B2 is needed to activate B6. B6 is required for the conversion of B3 from tryptophan. B12 and folate work together in DNA synthesis and red blood cell formation. When one B vitamin is supplemented in high amounts without attention to the others, imbalances can occur. The metabolic pathways that depend on the supplemented vitamin may run more efficiently, but they may also place greater demands on the vitamins that support them. Over time, this can reveal deficiencies that were previously hidden. This is not an argument against supplementation. It is an argument for supplementation with awareness. For those using B1 therapeutically, it makes sense to ensure that the other B vitamins are present in adequate amounts. This can be accomplished through diet, through a B-complex supplement, or through foods like nutritional yeast that provide the full spectrum naturally. The same principle extends beyond the B vitamins. Magnesium, for example, is required for the activation of B1. Without sufficient magnesium, even abundant B1 cannot do its job. This kind of interdependence is the rule in human biology, not the exception. Supporting one nutrient means considering the nutrients that support it. The temporal dimension. One of the most challenging aspects of addressing nutrient insufficiency is the time factor. Depletion does not happen overnight. It occurs gradually, over months and years, as intake falls short of demand and stores are slowly drawn down. By the time symptoms appear, the deficit may be substantial. This gradual timeline works in reverse as well. Restoring adequate levels takes time. Cells must rebuild their stores. Enzyme systems must be reactivated. Tissues must repair the damage that accumulated during the period of insufficiency. This does not happen in a day or a week. It happens over weeks and months of consistent support. For those who begin a course of supplementation, the timeline of improvement provides useful information. Some changes may be noticed quickly: a lifting of fatigue, a clearing of mental fog, as the most energy-starved cells receive what they have been lacking. Other changes unfold more slowly. Nerve healing, in particular, is a gradual process. The tingling that has been present for years may not resolve in a matter of days. It may fade over months, as the nerves slowly regenerate and restore their function. This temporal dimension is worth keeping in mind. It tempers expectations and provides a framework for evaluating progress. It also underscores the value of prevention. Maintaining adequate status over the long term is far easier than recovering from a significant deficit. The question of individual variability. No two bodies are exactly alike. This obvious statement has profound implications for nutrition. The amount of B1 that maintains optimal function in one person may be insufficient for another. Genetics, lifestyle, health status, and environmental exposures all influence individual requirements. Some of this variability is understood. Researchers have identified genetic variations that affect how efficiently B1 is absorbed, transported, and utilized. Individuals with certain variants may need higher intakes to achieve the same cellular levels as those without them. This is not a defect. It is simply human diversity expressing itself at the molecular level. Other sources of variability are less well characterized, but no less real. Chronic stress increases metabolic demand. So does illness. So does physical activity. The body's requirements are not fixed. They fluctuate with circumstances, and optimal intake may need to fluctuate as well. This is why rigid recommendations, however well-intentioned, can only ever be rough guidelines. They describe what is sufficient for most people most of the time, but they cannot account for every individual's unique situation. The ultimate guide is the body itself. Paying attention to how it responds provides information that no laboratory test can match. The whole person perspective. Stepping back from the details of cellular metabolism, a larger pattern emerges. The body's need for B1 is not an isolated fact. It is one expression of a broader truth about human biology. That health depends on a continuous supply of specific factors that the body cannot manufacture for itself. This truth has been recognized for centuries, though it has been expressed in different language at different times. Traditional diets around the world incorporated foods that provided these factors, often without conscious understanding of why. Liver was valued. Fermented foods were preserved. Whole grains were consumed. These practices, developed through observation and passed down through generations, supported the nutrient needs of populations long before vitamins were discovered. Modern life has disrupted many of these patterns. Food is processed for convenience and shelf life, often at the expense of nutrient density. The connection between what is eaten and how the body responds has become obscured by the sheer complexity of the food environment. It is possible to eat 3 meals a day and still be undernourished in ways that affect every system. Reconnecting with the body's foundational needs does not require adopting an extreme diet or abandoning modern medicine. It simply requires asking different questions. Instead of asking which drug treats which symptom, one might ask what the body requires to function optimally. Instead of accepting gradual decline as inevitable, one might ask whether it is actually reversible. The answers to these questions are not mysterious. They are found in the basic science of cellular metabolism and in the accumulated experience of generations. The body requires energy to function. It requires specific nutrients to produce that energy. When those nutrients are consistently available, the body's systems can do what they are designed to do: maintain, repair, and sustain themselves over decades. The integration of knowledge, the information presented here, drawn from decades of research and clinical observation, points toward a coherent approach to supporting health in the later decades of life. It is not a protocol or a prescription. It is a framework for thinking about the body's needs and how they might be met. At its center is the recognition that energy production is foundational. Every system depends on it. Supporting mitochondrial function through adequate nutrition is not a niche concern. It is a basic requirement for health at any age, and it becomes increasingly important as the body's natural efficiencies decline. This support begins with diet. Whole foods, minimally processed, provide nutrients in forms the body recognizes and can use. Organ meats, nutritional yeast, legumes, seeds, and vegetables all contribute to the pool of B vitamins and other factors that mitochondria require. Reducing the burden of refined carbohydrates lessens the demand on these nutrients, allowing what is consumed to go further. When diet alone is not sufficient, supplementation offers a reliable backup. The choice of form and dose depends on individual circumstances and goals. The water-soluble form supports general energy. The fat-soluble form may be more appropriate for neurological concerns. Whatever form is chosen, attention to the full spectrum of B vitamins and supporting minerals like magnesium ensures balance. Throughout this process, observation is the guide. The body's responses provide information about what is working and what may need adjustment. Energy levels, mental clarity, digestive comfort, nerve sensations, all of these offer feedback that can inform ongoing decisions. The broader context, nutrition does not exist in a vacuum. It interacts with every other aspect of life. Sleep, movement, stress, social connection, and purpose all influence how the body functions and how well it can use the nutrients it receives. Sleep is when much of the body's repair work occurs. During deep sleep, cellular cleaning processes ramp up, damaged components are removed, and energy stores are replenished. Without adequate sleep, even optimal nutrition cannot fully compensate. The two work together. Movement stimulates mitochondria. It signals to the body that energy production capacity needs to be maintained. Regular physical activity, even at modest levels, supports the cellular machinery that nutrition provides the fuel for. The relationship is symbiotic. Nutrition enables movement, and movement enhances the body's ability to use nutrition. Stress, particularly chronic stress, increases metabolic demand. It raises the body's requirements for many nutrients while simultaneously interfering with digestion and absorption. Managing stress through rest, social connection, and activities that bring a sense of calm is not separate from nutrition. It is part of the same picture. Social connection and purpose may seem far removed from cellular metabolism, but they influence it through pathways that are only beginning to be understood. Individuals with strong social ties and a sense of meaning tend to have better health outcomes across many measures. The mechanisms are complex, but they likely include effects on stress hormones, immune function, and behaviors that support health. The long view. Aging is not a disease to be cured. It is a natural process that unfolds over time. But the way it unfolds is not fixed. It is shaped by countless decisions and circumstances, some within control and some not. The perspective offered here is one of cautious optimism. The body has remarkable capacities for maintenance and repair when it has what it needs. Many of the changes commonly attributed to aging, the loss of energy, the slowing of thought, the discomfort in nerves and joints, are not inevitable. They are influenced by the cumulative effects of how the body has been supported over decades. This is not a promise of endless youth. It is an invitation to consider what might be possible when the body's foundational needs are consistently met. It is a recognition that the small, daily choices about what to eat and how to live accumulate into the long-term reality of how it feels to be in a body as the years pass. For those in the later decades of life, this perspective offers something valuable, a sense of agency. The future is not fully determined by the past. Changes made today can influence how the body functions tomorrow, next month, and next year. The body responds to what it receives. Give it what it needs, and it will do what it can with what it has. This is not a dramatic claim. It is a quiet truth, supported by biology and confirmed by experience. The body's needs are not mysterious. meeting them consistently, over time, is the foundation of aging well. Everything else builds upon that. The body's needs are not complicated. They are ancient, consistent, and deeply rooted in how we evolved. Meeting those needs consistently, over decades, is not about chasing the next health trend or following a rigid protocol. It is about returning to fundamentals, to the understanding that every cell, every tissue, every system depends on a steady supply of specific factors to generate energy, repair damage, and maintain function. The changes we often accept as normal parts of aging may not be inevitable at all. They may simply be the accumulated result of what the body has been missing. If this perspective resonates with you, if it raises questions about your own experience or offers a new way of understanding something you have observed in yourself, we would welcome your thoughts in the comments. There is wisdom in shared experience, and this library grows richer with each voice that contributes. If you would like to explore more of what we have archived here, we invite you to browse the collection. There is always more to learn about how to carry our years with strength, clarity, and grace. This is the Longevity Library. Listen, learn, and live longer.